Welcome to episode 47 of Motivating Mondays, a weekly podcast and YouTube series dedicated to help Canadian job developers and other employer engagement professionals develop the tools, resources, expertise, and network to excel in achieving sustainable employment outcomes for their clients or students. My name is Christian St. Cyr, National Director of the Canadian Job Development Network, and today we're going to take a different look at International Women's Day. And while most people take the time today to celebrate women in our society, is this not overlooking the serious inequity that women face in Canada's labour market? As noted, yesterday was International Women's Day, and as I was strolling through the social media posts, I saw empowering statements like, "March 8th is our opportunity to shine a light on the important contribution women make," or "Today we celebrate the hard work and ingenuity of women in our workplace," or even, "International Women's Day is the day we acknowledge the social, economic, cultural, and political advancements of women in Canada." We definitely do take a day to celebrate and acknowledge women because it seems like the other 364 days we really trash them. I don't want to be a downer, and I truly believe that women are making contributions as great or greater than men in our labor market and in our economy. I just struggle that we live in a reality that is blatantly unfair and insulting, but pay lip service to the special contribution this population makes. I feel this way about celebrating the unique contribution of Indigenous Canadians in June, while not calling out the fact that Indigenous Canadians are weighed down with a 10.1% unemployment rate, while it is 6.5% for the rest of Canada. In October, we celebrate Disability Employment Month without noting that those with disabilities in Canada have a 53.6% labor force participation rate compared to 65% for the rest of the country. It's one thing if your boss refuses to give you a raise, but it's quite another if he calls together all of the staff to say how amazing you are and what a wonderful contribution you make, but he's still going to pay you less than your colleagues and deny you opportunities for advancement. This is the worst kind of hypocrisy, and women in Canada should be marching in the streets on March 8th to demand fair treatment from government, employers, and industry. When the Prime Minister or the Premier goes online to tell you how women are making a wonderful contribution, women should be replying, "Oh yeah? What are you going to do about pay or workplace or retirement inequity?" According to Network for Change, a nonprofit group focused on gender equity in the workforce, 93% of Canadian women and gender marginalized workers between the ages of 18 and 29 see no clear pathway to promotion at their workplace. Additionally, 85% said that they do not feel professionally challenged or stimulated. 51% of those surveyed reported being stuck in entry-level positions. Regarding barriers to advancement, the study found that 94% reported identity-based barriers to meaningful employment. 51% of respondents cited age as a barrier, 36% cited gender, and 41% cited race. And while the technical challenges to advancement are gaining greater recognition, as a society, we accept that women make less money, even though this runs contrary to living in a fair and free society. The Ontario Pay Equity Office reports on an hourly basis, women in Ontario earned 88 cents for every dollar earned by men in 2025, leaving a 12% wage gap, a slight improvement from the 82 cents nearly 3 decades ago. When average annual earnings are considered, capturing bonuses, commissions, and differences in hours worked, the gap widens sharply. Women earned 72 cents on the dollar in 2023, a 28% gap, according to Stats Canada. The latter figure was improved from 62 cents 30 years ago. Ontario's wage gap is identical to Canada's at 12%. While provincially it ranges from 18% gap in Alberta to 5% in New Brunswick, with Prince Edward Island as the only province where women earn more than men by 4%. Can you imagine if you were running an employment center and you stated, "Oh, well, we pay Indigenous workers 12% less than non-Indigenous workers"? Would this be any less shocking a statement for disabled workers, or black workers, or immigrant workers. And yet we come to expect this for women who do not represent a minority of the population. Women are the majority, representing 50.7% of the population of Canada. While the G7, within the G7, Canada is only a tick below Germany's lead, with a female participation rate of 76.4% for the 15 to 64 age group. So the cup is more than half full, but the gap is more than half full. But there's a gap relative to male participation in Canada. The most recent labor force survey revealed a labor force participation rate of core age men, which is people 25 to 54, of 90.6% compared to 76.4% for women. While there is a multitude of factors I could illustrate to illustrate the underrepresentation of women in the labor market, we are making very small improvements. Wage transparency in job postings is highlighting the differences between what men and women earn. Women are also achieving higher levels of education, resulting in better employment opportunities. Globally, women are more likely than men to have post-secondary education, and that's true in Canada to a much higher degree. That should be associated with higher productivity and therefore pay increases in the labor market. It's possible that some of the impact still lies ahead. As younger women are more educated than those in later years in the workforce, as the older workers retire from the workforce and younger women move up the ranks, we should see some narrowing in the wage gap. The messaging on International Women's Day should ripple from the earliest stages. Girls, teens, young women should be told that they shouldn't just earn as much as their male counterparts, that they should expect it. The unspoken truth in all of this lies in the fact that while there are a multitude of reasons why women are underrepresented in our labor market, one of the chief reasons is that women are more likely than men to take on child-raising responsibilities. This limits career advancement, salary increases, opportunities for promotion, and pension contributions. And when people attack diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace, they are essentially saying this unfairness is totally fine and shouldn't be corrected. This is what I think should outrage women. For both men and women, one of the most important responsibilities our society has is caring for and raising children who ultimately go on to participate in the labor market. Canada is on the cusp of having a declining birth rate, with our natural population shrinking. And yet women, as well as men, are penalized for taking time out of the workforce to have children and raise them. If the provinces or the federal government were to pass legislation to ensure women were to get salary increases, even during years where they are taking off on parental leave, to have their jobs protected for multiple years, not just one, or to require employers to have an equitable mix of men and women in leadership roles, this would be decried as massive, invasive, woke social engineering, when in fact it would just correct an imbalance which runs contrary to the future needs of our society and workforce stability. I am sorry that I couldn't give you a more cheery International Women's Day editorial with lots of platitudes that pretend reality doesn't exist, but as a son, as a brother, as a father, and as a husband, I, like every other man in Canada, can see firsthand the challenges women face in our labor market. We need to speak up about these issues. We need to inform and build up our clients. And sometimes we need to have hard, sometimes delicate conversations with employers to draw their attention to practices that they may not be even aware of as unfair and prejudicial. I believe Canada is a nation that believes in fairness and justice. I believe that making pro-women statements on International Women's Day isn't intended to be insulting, and I believe most people making these statements or hearing this editorial already know about the important contribution women make. I just think we need to actively speak out if we want to affect long-term change. I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. Please click the like or subscribe button in your platform. Thank you so much for joining us. Please click the like or subscribe button in your platform. Search for Motivating Mondays wherever you download podcasts. We'd also love it if you could subscribe to our YouTube channel and or rate or review this podcast. Now, we do these sessions live and for free every Monday morning on Microsoft Teams with job developers from across Canada. It'd be so great if you could join us. Just go to jobdevelopment.org to learn more. If you have any questions, send me an email. My direct email address is cstcyr@labormarketsolutions.ca. Thank you so much for joining us and have an amazing week.